Well, to start, my name is Stephen Meltzer. I'm a physician assistant. Being a PA is the most incredible opportunity. I didn't come from a medical background. My family was in the butcher business for 24 years, then I went into the restaurant business. I grew up in food. That's what I grew up in. In undergraduate school, I was a psych major. I got in the Navy and I wanted to be a cook. And if I couldn't be a cook, I wanted to be a photographer's mate. And if I couldn't do that, I wanted to be a machinist mate. Why did I want to be in the hole shoveling coal? Don't ask. But if you score high enough, they decide what you're going to do. And they said, Meltzer, yeah, you're going to be a pecker checker. I said, what the hell is that? He said, you know, the guy sitting there, he said, those are the guys that are giving us shots. And I said, what the hell do I know about medicine? That incident actually changed the course of my life because while I was in the military, I actually worked in psychiatry. 2 years as a senior corpsman on a locked unit in Philadelphia and then 2 years outpatient psychiatry in the Philippines. But I wound up having a little med-surg experience as well in the Navy, and I found that I liked that. And just by coincidence, as I was leaving the Philippines, I came across a catalog for the PA program at Duke, and I said, 2 years, practice medicine? I could do that. Graduated out of the Duke program in 1977. I worked in rural primary care for about 10 years, primarily as a solo PA, initially in North Carolina and then in Washington State here. Becoming a PA was exciting. The medicine was exciting. From my first job, I was always an administrator of a clinic as well as the PA. So already I was involved in organizing, working with my local community board of directors, writing grants, managing finances, hiring and firing, all those kinds of things. And that later on evolved into becoming the director of the Area Health Education Center and working with rural communities on recruitment, retention, how to maintain their healthcare systems, all those kinds of things. But I always did that as a PAC because I thought it was very important that people recognize that I was a physician assistant, a clinician who was working with them to help solidify and retain their healthcare system in rural communities, that we were part of the network, an important part of the network, and can help them achieve their goals.
The guy knows everybody in eastern Washington and northern Idaho and probably western Montana involved with healthcare, and that's one of the things that made him so important to Medex.
I've been with Medex since 2005. When I came in, I was working in professional role development, helping students understand a little bit about who they were as physician assistants, a little bit about the healthcare system, and taking care of patients. Part of my responsibility was to oversee the students' interest in rural and underserved populations.
He knew everybody. He knew who to ask. He knew who to ask, and then who to ask from there, and who to ask from there, and how things were organized. He knew the state of each hospital, whether it was doing well or struggling. He knew the state of every clinic alliance that was being built or falling apart. He just knew all that stuff.
I was also a clinical coordinator, placing students around Eastern Washington in hospital settings, small clinics, etc.
When he arrived at Medex as a clinical director, wow, did we ever benefit from that?
Then more recently, Eric Larson and myself co-chair the Rural and Underserved Populations Master's Track. And that's been a really exciting development because it's given us the opportunity to bring in other kinds of information and people into that conversation.
One of his strengths that gave him standing and expertise in all this is he spent all that time in Grand Coulee. So when he was working in support of rural health, he really knew what he was talking about from the ground up.
This is the end of your involvement with Medex. As of August, you will not be teaching anymore. Is that correct?
That's right.
I think the program will miss such a coherent and experienced and authentic voice for rural health. PA students who are, imagining themselves as rural providers.
Stephen's definitely a city mouse. He grew up in Brooklyn.
Meltzer, yeah.
And here he is, staked his career on rural health and just bridged that gap beautifully.
The funny thing is, I still have a lot of research ideas, particularly in regard to rural medicine. It's just probably a lifelong thing that I won't be able to really put aside.
I'm wondering.
That's the fun of it. That's so fun. And you try and help students understand what kind of role they could play. I mean, being a PA is the most incredible opportunity.